All right. Hello, 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 everybody. Thanks for joining today. What day is it? Wednesday already? My goodness. I don't know about you all, but it feels like it should be Friday by now. All right. Camera's freezing. Good times. Hi, Maxine. Hello, hello. All right, folks. Couple of things as people are coming in. We'll give it a minute or two before we get started. First things first. Who's in the Chicagoland area? Is there anyone out here with me? It is last time we met, if you guys were here last week with me, I'm fairly certain it was storming. And it's storming again today. So if you lose me for whatever reason, um, I'm hoping that won't happen. But it's because of the weather and it's not because I got upset and just left out of the blue. So, hello. Yes, especially since my office is closed on Friday. Yeah, Maxine, just feeling that should be Friday. Sakana? Sankana? It is raining a lot. All right, we've got Sophia in Detroit who's getting whatever we get. Yeah, it's supposed to get Colorado Springs is going to get to 100 today and no AC. Wow. Yes, Brian, you all are muted. Feel free to just put things in the chat though. I can read them out loud. Wow, everyone in DC. DC must be having the weather that we had yesterday and the day before because it was absolutely beautiful here. But anywho, you all did not join to hear me talk about the Chicago weather. But I'm always happy to chat about that if you want to on at a different point in time. So we're gonna go ahead and kick this off. Um, for those of you, as I'm doing my intro, if you were here last session, can you just put I or yes? I would love to know who's here. Perfect. If you are a newbie and you were not at last week's session, go ahead and put no. Would love to get a head count of how many people haven't seen the full story. Nope. Okay, cool. All right. A lot of first timers for this series. Okay, so if you missed last week, no big deal. A lot of these can sit as like one-off webinars, but again, the whole idea is focusing on a specific topic related to membership for 30 minutes. For those who were also here last week and the week before, you know that I can talk a decent amount. So trying to keep all this within 30 minutes, which means if you guys have questions throughout, feel free to put them in the chat because we've been running close to time for most of these sessions. And I want to be able to answer questions as we go. So don't be shy. Feel free to engage in that manner. But anywho, without further ado, thank you all for being here. So again, this is session 2 of our 3-part campaign series. Last time we talked about recruitment, so how we were converting warm prospects that were already in your sites. And today we're going to pick up where we left off, where you got the member in the door. So now what? So we're talking about onboarding. Okay. Moving on. Before we dive in, we're going to take a quick temperature of the room. This is genuinely useful for me too. But if you could drop a number in the chat, when a new member joins your association today, what does their onboarding actually look like? So is it just a single welcome email? Is it a welcome series? Is it a full first year campaign that has check-ins and multi-touch points and this, that, and the other? Is it other? If it's other, feel free to drop in what else you do. I would love to know if people are still doing like direct mail or onboarding like packets that they mail. That's also good to know. Um, as you do that, go ahead and keep dropping things in the chat. We're going to go ahead and dive into some introductions. So again, if you weren't here last week, I will introduce myself first. My name is Brittany. I am the Senior Marketing Manager here at PropFuel. Prior to joining the PropFuel team about 2 years ago, I was working primarily in associations in membership and marketing roles, healthcare associations in the Chicagoland area. So now I am focused more so on content and in-person events and partnerships and market education, all that fun stuff here at PropFuel. I spend a lot of time talking to membership professionals and staying connected to the membership space because it's what I know. It's the background that I have, and that's what brings value to all of this to begin with. Um, but yeah, today is my favorite kind of conversation. So thanks for being here. Quick word on PropFuel as well. So if you are a current client of PropFuel, go ahead and drop client in the chat. If you are not a client, go ahead and put not a client. This is fun. I'm just gonna have you guys start talking to me all the time in these happy client, yay. Um, ooh, Laura said she wants to bring back some direct mail via swag packages. I want to hear more about that. For the gosh, I just want to have a conversation with all of you right now. All right, Kelsey, you let us know what you need if you need some ammo for that conversation. My client's a client. Awesome. Okay. For those of you doing direct mail too, I'd be interested in knowing like what's all included in that welcome packet. But anywho, quick introduction on PropFuel, who we are. We are a member insights and engagement platform. We are built specifically for associations. So the big idea with PropFuel is this concept of what if you knew what every member wanted and what to do next, right? So that's what we built this question. That's the question we built this platform to answer. So you ask a question, you capture what members tell you, and then you act on that with personalized follow-up automatically. So instead of sending communications, what we call broadcast communications, where you're just telling, and getting no insights and no data, no feedback back, you are actually getting insights and data from your members. And then you get to respond based off of what they told you. So this is the thread that's really running through everything we're covering today, the methodology that we follow, which is this ask, capture, act methodology. So for the next 30-ish minutes, maybe 32, because I talk a lot, we're going to start with a reframe. I think most associations are treating onboarding more so as like a task rather than a part of their membership strategy, and that can be very costly. Then we're going to talk through the same framework we used last week. We're going to apply that to onboarding. We're going to dig into a real campaign or two, and then you're going to walk away with 3 things that you could do this week. Ideally, you'll do at least one of them. That's the goal. Again, any questions you have, drop in the chat as we go. Cool. Session 1. If you were here last week, you saw what switching up your recruitment campaign could do for you, right? So AMA, American or Academy of Model Aeronautics, they turned anonymous website visitors, so people visiting their website, into over $300,000 in revenue by being able to convert them into members. APS, so Physical Society, they turned a post-summit attendee list into 368 new members. So it's all showing that the campaigns and the framework that we're talking about, it works, right? So now you have a new member, and here's the thing. So I would say almost every association has some version of an onboarding process, right? Welcome email, maybe a series, something sent via direct mail, phone calls, what have you. So the question isn't really what do we do next with onboarding, right? You probably already have an answer to that. We'll send an email. We'll have our committee call and welcome people. We'll have our executive director call and welcome people. You have to do something. I think the better question when it comes to onboarding is, are you asking, what do we send next? Or are you asking, what should we know about this member in order to keep them? What do we need to know from the member? We tell them versus what do we ask them? Because those 2 questions can produce a completely different campaign. One is going to give you that welcome sequence that some of us are probably very familiar with, but the other one gives you more of a retention strategy, right? So it's a welcome sequence plus strategy. And most associations are running the first one, so this sequence, hoping for the results of the second, which is that strategy. All right. So again, we're going to start with this reframe. And the reframe is relatively simple. I like to keep things simple. Onboarding is a strategy. It's not just a sequence. So I've said this before and I'll say it again and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Renewal decision isn't made in November when the notice goes out. It is made in the first few months. And that's based on whether the member felt like the association actually knew them, whether the member felt like the experience was really built for them. If the first year feels generic, then the renewal is likely already in trouble. You just don't find out until it's too late. Renewals, and we'll talk about this next week. If you're interested in registering for that, let us know. But next week, we'll get into the specifics of renewals. But renewals should always be, in my opinion, a very transactional process. Renewal time is not when you list out all of the benefits that you have and not when you remind them of all of the great things that you do. That should be happening during this onboarding series and this onboarding strategy, that should be built into that. And keep in mind that with this onboarding strategy, you can also apply this to like a re-engagement strategy as well. These are check-ins that can happen to people who renew. It's just going to be framed a little bit differently. So keep that in mind as we go as well. All right, this likely does not look new to you. If this does look new to you, let me know. If this is relatively similar to what your members see, go ahead and put that in the chat. Just say like, yep, fairly similar. And if it's not, then let me know too, because I'd be interested. But here's what most new members experience, right? Day one, they get the welcome email. The next week, there's so many yeses. I love this. The next week, we're telling them about a benefit that we think should matter to them or we think is important to them. The next week, we're on to a new benefit or a new feature. And it's again, one that we think is important and one that we really want to tell them about. And same for week 3, week 4. And then the series ends. And from months 2 or 3 to 10, um, the fire hose is unleashed, right? It's like we've got newsletters, we've got advocacy updates, we've got new product announcements, we've got education announcements, we've got conference promotions, we've got volunteer announcements. Every association email that exists, they're getting it every day, all the time. Then month 11 hits and the renewal notice is there, right? And at the end of the day, like nobody has asked the member what they wanted. None of it was personalized outside of the general segmentation of like, you are this member type. This might be relevant to you. Yes, Grace, this is relatively similar to what I was saying. So the segmentation piece of it is a great start, right? So being able to segment by member type, by years in practice, by location, like the demographic side, that's a very great start, but it's also still so generalized, right? There's a great comparison of personalization. I'll have to send it to you guys in the follow-up email, but it's of two people. It's like they both live in the UK. They were both born in 1963. They both enjoy classical music or something. I don't know. It's a long list of like the data that we typically use to differentiate our members and kind of segment our members. And it's King Charles and Ozzy Osbourne. And it's like at the end of the day, you're going to talk to these people so differently because while some of this demographic information is similar and it can put them in a specific segment, you would still talk to them very differently because they're going to have at their core very different interests. Okay, stepping off my soapbox there. Again, so for these, the key point here is that none of it is like truly genuinely personalized to each member. It's a ton of communication. There's no listening here. We're not getting any data back from the member typically. And you really only find out who tuned out when renewals come and you're not getting responses from them. So we want to go ahead and fix this. That first year is a window and most of it is filled with noise. So we want to figure out how can we use that window to like gain insights from our members in order to then provide more value to them. So let's talk about what using that window actually looks like. Okay. Again, 3 things that aren't all that new anymore. If you were in the last 2 sessions or really any session ever with Prop Fuel, it's a very simple concept, but it's powerful when you actually do all of them. And that's the framework that we've talked about, right? This ask, capture, act. It starts with asking. Ask what they want from membership in week 1, not 6 months in, not at renewal. What are you most hoping to get out of your membership this year? Why did you join? That one question will tell you more about how to follow up with them than any other data that you're getting, right? Once you capture that information, so take that answer, every answer is going to build back into the member profile. You're going to get interest, goals, career stage, communication preferences, all of that. It's all going to flow back into your AMS ideally. And then you're not sending into the void anymore, right? You're building a real picture of who this person is, how they want to be contacted, what they like, etc. Then you're going to act on what they told you, right? So first, you're going to connect them to the benefits that are actually relevant to them. Not a list of everything you offer. I know it's so tempting to be like, but we offer so many great things. We don't want them to miss out. It's like, okay, let's ease them into this process, right? There is that idea of like overwhelm from too many, what is it? Decision paralysis or something like that, where like you have too many decisions and now you just don't make any. We have too many benefits to go through. And now I just don't care to even start because I'm overwhelmed. At least that's kind of how I feel when I see long lists of things, but that's just me. But anywho, you need to connect them with and act on their response by, again, following up with the things that are relevant to them. So the member who's finding value in month 1, 2, 3, that's the member who is going to renew in month 11. And the other thing to keep in mind, we often talk about this like ask, capture, act as a sequence. So you ask, you capture, you act, you ask, you capture, you act. But acting really isn't only this like one-time thing, right? So you can continue checking in and you can continue acting on the information that they tell you based off of how you're storing that data and the information you're getting from them moving forward, right? Um, adding some check-ins throughout the year, like a mid-year check-in. Again, and this isn't something like, okay, we're going to do a quick onboarding series. 6 months later, we're going to send you one email checking in on your membership without having asked anything else about like what you're looking for, without having any ammo as to like what to speak to or direct them to during that check-in. Um, it's important to have that check-in with some context. Okay. Ooh, 14 minutes to go. We can do this. All right. So now we're going to go through some examples. I promised some examples. So let's show you what all of this looks like when it's actually built into a campaign. We're going to revisit AMA because their challenge was very specific. It was real. Also, we kicked off this series with an overarching webinar on how acquisition, onboarding, and renewals all tie together, how they're all one story. So I'm carrying AMA throughout this series so you can see each piece of that and how they all connect. And then I also toss in another example because it's good sometimes to have some references, and that way we're not people who have seen this before have another example they can go off of. But anywho, AMA, so their challenge was specific. It was very real. New members were joining, but they weren't engaging with the core member benefit, which is engaging with a local flying club. So without that club connection, membership also like often felt a little bit thin, but AMA didn't have any way to know like which members had found a club, which hadn't, what else people were interested in, etc. So they built an 8 touch point welcome series. Every email asked one question and then routed the next message based off of the answer, right? So they started to learn who their members were and more importantly, what each member wanted. So here is what the series looked like. This is the first 5. 8 emails in total, each one building on the last one. So we've got welcome, find a club. What would you like to know more about in this welcome series, right? Have you joined a club? Let us help you if not. What else would you like to learn more about after they ask already? Like, what are you interested in? We're going to show you this information. What else do you want to learn more about? It's spoon feeding them, right? It's making it easier. One thing I wanted to also do was zoom in on like one specific path, right? So a member clicks, where can I learn to fly? Um, they immediately get redirected into this learning resource, right? So this is not a generic packet. If they say yes, it's routing them to, okay, where can I learn to fly? It's directing them to information related to where they can learn to fly. And then this is great. So they get asked 30 days later, did you actually learn to fly? So this is an automated check-in following up on a goal that they had told the association they were interested in. And then based off of that check-in, they're directed to a relevant resource. So did you learn to fly? Great. Will you tell us more about it? And will you be an advocate for us? Did you learn to fly? No. Okay. Let's show value. Let's be a resource for you and help you do what you told us you want to do. And let's connect you with an instructor so that you can learn to fly and carry on, right? So again, they're in this campaign where it feels like the association is actually paying attention to what they want and what they're interested in. Here is where I love this example because it's where the onboarding campaign and the renewal campaign start to blur, right? And that's exactly the point. This should be one fluid story. So the last 3 touch points are a satisfaction check. So we've got like a mid-year check-in, the satisfaction check, and then a renewal ask. So after all of these touch points where they're listening to the member, getting feedback, data, insights, etc., all these buzzwords from the member, the renewal question, it doesn't land cold, right? So they're asking early on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to renew your membership? And then based off of those responses, certain things can happen in the back end, right? If somebody says 1, a team member can be alerted, they can reach out to that person individually and figure out like, hey, what's going on? Like what, and again, this is before renewal season so that they can hopefully catch them prior to the renewal going out, keep them as a member by showing them value again. If someone says a 10, you have more insights as to like, great, this person is very happy with their membership. Maybe we'll pull some data to see what they've been doing and we can use that as a resource or a guide for other members. Um, but at the end of the day, the renewal question isn't going to land cold, right? It's going to be amidst a conversation that's been ongoing and it's been going on for months. So it's not a surprise. It's not this cold message from the association that they never heard of after they joined and paid their dues. But that's why at the beginning of this, you might have seen AMA had seen a 45% engagement rate, which is double what they had seen before using their previous system. So again, the whole idea here is like, how can we get our members more engaged and how can we get information from them to make their membership more valuable? Second example, National Association of Pediatric Nurse Practitioners. So they built their campaign as a choose your own adventure campaign. I also love this example. I think this is absolutely fantastic. The first question, member joins, first question they get is, what are you hoping to get out of your membership? You can see how the members answer it over here. And then the engine behind it is this question workflow, right? So based on which option a member picks, they're automatically added to a different campaign that's focused on that specific benefit. I love this so much. My membership past is like past membership coordinator, growth manager, etc. Britt is like, this is awesome. I love this so much. So again, if somebody comes in and they're like, I'm interested in this discounted CE, that gets tagged to their account. They get added to this discount on conference and CE campaign. And within that campaign, I'll show you in just a second. I'm probably getting ahead of myself. But anyways, these members are being taken down a path that's related to what they directly told the association, right? So they're getting relevant information right away. So taking that education path, because again, the discounted CE and conference registration, that was number one. Well, also one thing I think I failed to mention prior is that this is all data that the association can now use to continue building value for all members, right? If they're saying like, oh, hey, 38% of people are joining for discounted CE and conference registrations, why don't we continue building that out? Why don't we continue using that for uh recruitment efforts? Like we can take this data and be like, hey, most people join because they want this. Is this something you'd be interested in too? Anyway, so that's the insights piece. Okay, hold on. Before I dive into the path, I see the chat. I did tell you guys, ask questions in here. Um, okay, so Maxine is asking, let's see. I love this. Okay, so Maxine's asking for the mid-year check-in. Would you suggest creating a short survey sequence just to get feedback at the mid-year point so you have some time to pivot? Yes, if you could do a check-in sequence, that would be great. Again, that could also be a part of the onboarding strategy, right? So that mid-year check-in could be check-in number 5. And then from there, they're routed, and it could be similar to this nap example, where based off of what they say, oh no, you guys are seeing it based off of what they say, they're added into a very specific campaign that then allows them to get more information on, like, say they say, how likely are you to renew? Or how is your membership going? And they say, I'm not really getting value out of it. Ask them, okay, what would be more valuable to you? And then make that follow-up very specific to what they tell you so that you, again, are building on that need or that ask from that member. Bernadette, our members are inundated with emails from our association. You are not alone. Emails are education events, etc. How do we make these stand out for membership? So these alone, these prop fuel style emails, these stand out for two reasons. Essentially pattern interrupt, right? These look different than what what the member typically sees. And then cognitive, I forget what the other name of it is, cognitive something, but it's the ease of which this email, how easy it is to interact and engage with this email. And that alone helps it stand out. The other thing is, this is such a hard conversation to have with associations because it's hard to do the whole like it's hard to have the conversation of, can we pull new members for the first 6 months? Can we strictly have them in this onboarding sequence and pull them from all communications from the association? That is a conversation I used to try to have with association. I know, I get it. I think that like each department has something to share, each department has something valuable to offer. And so the piece here is really a conversation with the team about, we don't want to bombard our new members with everything we have to offer as they're still learning about the association. We are going to still highlight the important information that each department has to offer. It's just going to be based off of the new members' preferences, right? So the AMA example showed after the first check-in, a couple of check-ins later, they said, okay, what do you want to learn about next? So it's not like they learned about a local flying club, and then we never talked to them about education or becoming a teacher. It basically, again, is just guiding them through that process. So Bernadette, I'm not sure if that entirely answers your question, but I think the more you can pull back on broadcast emails during the first couple of months of membership, the easier it's going to be for them to tune in. The whole focus is like, how can we help a member tune in instead of tune out from our association? And to help them tune in, they need to see relevant information. And I don't have the exact script that you can give your team, all of the departments at the association for this, but that's essentially the type of approach that I would take or recommend. That's just me again, based off of experience that I've gone through. Hope that was helpful. Okay. So again, back to NapNap. Sorry, I'm giving you guys whiplash, but discounted seating conference education, that was number one. So we're diving into that path, right? So they get taken on this path of, okay, now we're only going to focus on information related to that thing you told us. So you're added to this completely different campaign. We are going to ask you 3 questions after that, right? So a member who said they wanted this, first touch point is an offer, because that's what they said they were interested in. And then a quick question of whether or not they've used that section just yet. The second question is about conference and events, right? So are you more interested in in-person events, virtual, or both? Because then you can tag them in the back end. When you have an in-person event, you can send them messages. If someone's only interested in virtual, you can send them messages related to virtual events, etc. And then again, what's next? So again, we're not keeping them out of advocacy updates. We're just feeding them information on that when they're ready for it, after they've seen value in a different way. Diving a little bit deeper. So this is what really separates this from a survey. We'll oftentimes get asked like, oh, okay, so this is a survey system. And no, not exactly, right? So when a member, the difference here is that there is immediate action. When a member answers that first offer email, the click does something, right? So there's this immediate gratification, immediate value. Whereas in a survey, you're taking time to collect the data, you're taking time to dissect that, to make sense of it, to get approval for what members want and what they're looking for and what you may need to add. There's no immediate gratification there based off of the feedback that members are looking for. So staying with the offer email, if they click yes, they are taken to this landing page. Here's your discount code. We're so glad that you were able to check out the system. If they say, no, I haven't checked out the education system yet, but I want to, they're taken directly to that landing page. And then if they say, no, I'm not, I haven't checked it out yet, but I plan to later, they're told, okay, well, here's a discount when you're ready. We'll check in with you in a little bit. No matter the answer, they're also sent an email automatically that says like, we're so excited that you wanted to check this out. We're so excited this is important to you. Just so you have this in your back pocket, here's your discount code. Again, so a survey would have just recorded the click and stopped there. Okay, so as I mentioned last week, if you were here, we have a ton of other examples like this that we would be happy to show you. If you are not a current client, we're going to drop a link in the chat to set up a call with us if you are interested in this. If you are a current client and you want to talk with your client success manager about an onboarding campaign or improving what you currently have, go ahead and drop a note in the chat for that as well, because I will more than happily connect you to your client success manager. One of the wonderful things about PropFuel is the team that we work with. But again, in short, PropFuel helps make this possible at scale. that Ask Capture Act loop. It's running automatically across the first year for every new member without your team having to manage it manually. You can get 8 to 12 check-ins. Each one's relevant. Each one is building on the last. And your team, again, can get alerted when something needs attention and when you need to have that manual work. Um, Otherwise, you can let it go. Let it be automated. I promised 3 things to take back this week. I'm so sorry we're on the 30-minute mark, but we're going to go through this anyways. So I hope that if you have a meeting now, you can show up a minute late. But 3 things to take back this week. First, audit your welcome sequence. Audit the current welcome sequence that you have now. Read through it. Count how many times you are asking versus telling. Most sequences are 90% telling. Check that out. Second, identify the first question that you would want to ask. If you could only ask one thing in that first touch point, what would it be? Right? That question belongs in your welcome email this week. Go back to that email. You have a sequence running, you have whatever's going on. Incorporate a question today if you can. Get the approval that you need. And then third, add one mid-year check-in. So again, not entirely a survey, just like, are you getting what you hoped for? A check-in, get some feedback from the member, and then give them what they're looking for. That question dropped in around month 4 or 5 will tell you more about who's at risk than most other engagement metrics, right? All right, next week is the renewal campaign. That's about it. There are some questions in here that I want to get to. So if you are interested in attending that, Alejandra, I'm not sure if we have the registration link live yet, but if we do, if you could drop that in the chat so people can register. I'm going to go through questions quick. Put your call to action in the subject line and keep them short in order to get attention from members. That is a great suggestion, Maxine. Laura, you had asked if is step one a multi-select question. No, these are all single select. So I'm not sure which step one you're referring to, but I can say that these email ones are a single select. However, they can go back into the email and select a different answer and get sent to a different landing page. What else do we have? Erica's got some suggestions for first year. That's awesome. Laura's saying we already send, I love these paths, but we already send lots of emails. Is it possible to integrate this into member hubs? Talk me through, Laura, what that question is entirely, if you're still on the call. It sounds like, can we incorporate this into like the back end of the membership database? At this time, no. But I do understand where you're going with the whole like, so this is another email. Again, that's one of those things where you start identifying where can you cut back and where can you cut back and where can you merge, so to speak. Like, how can you make the emails easier so that it's not as overwhelming for the member? All right. Any other questions? Please make these longer. Don't tempt me, Maxine. For those asking too, recording of last week's webinar, yes, we will include that in the follow-up email. If that doesn't go out today, it'll go out tomorrow, but we'll send a follow-up email with a link to the recording, a link to the slide decks. We can also reference last week's webinar and the webinar that kicked all this off. But yes, we will share all of the things that we can, and we'll share the registration link. Oh, okay. So yeah, Laura, you had specified there. Can we set this up as like a widget, so to speak, in the member profile? Right now, no, I don't know if that's in the works. I will take it back to the team. But yeah, I think some type of question like that would be interesting. We do have a website pop-up that does integrate, again, like last week's call talked about how AMA used that for member acquisition. And it was essentially like they visit the website and a pop-up appears and says like, hey, thanks for coming to the site. What are you looking to learn more about, or what are you looking to do? And that basically gives them, again, takes them on a separate journey from there that's outside of email, but also could incorporate email. All right. Thanks, Liliana. Thanks for joining. As for the mid-year check-in email, do you just have members reply to the email or fill out a quick form? How do you collect their answer? I think it's dependent on what you, Elson, who are you with? What organization are you with? If you're still on the call. I think as you're responding, the for mid-year check-in emails, it really kind of depends. It's going to depend a little bit on, again, what the sequence or that strategy looks like leading up to that mid-year check-in. Anything that allows you to get information quickly and also act on that information is going to be ideal. So again, so if a member replies to that email, that might be the easiest way for some of your members, which is totally fine because you're still getting feedback, but you're going to want to make sure that you're manually responding to them and having somebody man that inbox so that they're getting relevant information right away, right? Um, if you have them fill out a quick form, the question would be, again, how are you acting on the data that you're collecting? If it's a Google form, what have you, what are you doing with that information once you get it? Because the key point for this mid-year check-in is learning about the member and what they're looking for if they plan on renewing, but also like showing them something relevant to them to get them to renew, to keep them. So if you can automate that process, that would be ideal. How you collect their answers, again, I hate to keep this so broad, but it's really dependent on the systems that you have. So Allison, reach out to me individually. I'm happy to chat with you a little bit further about like what all that looks like. Anyone else who wants to reach out, feel free. I'm putting my email in the chat. Um, feel free to, I love talking about this stuff. I love talking through some ideas and suggestions and staying connected again to the membership world. And some of this allows me to create more resources for people like you all so that there's a guide that might be able to help or at least initiate some new ideas. But yeah, Allison, reach out. We can chat a little bit more about that in detail. All right, folks. It is 11:37 a.m. Central Time, which means I'm 7 minutes-ish. Technically only 2 minutes because I think we did put this as a 35-minute block. I'm a little bit past time. If you have any other questions, please feel free to send me an email. If you are not a current client and you want to check out the system, propfuel.com/book a demo. I'm going to drop that in one more time. Feel free to schedule a call with the team. I would love to show you more about like what we have in the works, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, thank you all for joining. Appreciate it. Bye, everybody.